Okay, breaking news from the Southeastern Conference. We're going to a 9-game schedule in the SEC, and I want to go through this because there's a lot to it. Georgia, nothing's been announced officially, but Georgia and Auburn, Georgia and Florida, those series are saved. Stuff like Tennessee, Alabama, those games are saved because, you're not just talking about your primary rival in the conference, but this will give the SEC a lot to work with moving forward. For Georgia, the 9-game schedule is going to mean a lot of different things. You are also required to play at least one power conference foes. For Georgia, that would be Georgia Tech. Florida, they get Florida State, Clemson, South Carolina. You get the point. So, for Georgia, this doesn't really necessarily change things. They've always had a difficult schedule. Just adds another SEC game. That's a lot. Now, I think the biggest thing around the league, and I've not written this down because, it's a kind of a tricky thing because for certain places, they consider certain teams rivals, and it's not sort of shared back, like Texas and Arkansas, Georgia, South Carolina. Those are big games. Arkansas considers Texas more of a rival than Texas considers Arkansas. Same thing with Georgia and Carolina. We know Georgia's going to play Florida forever. We know Georgia's going to play Auburn now, for sure. Question is, who's going to be the third team? That's the first part of this. Secondly, what does this mean for, you're going to see everybody in the league a lot. Okay, that's the part to remember here is it's your 3 games, and then you're swapping the 6 and 6. That gets you to playing the entire conference in a 2-year span. Okay, that's a big deal. So, there's no more of Alabama and Georgia not playing each other in the regular season. We've seen that a lot lately, but from 2009 to 2019, for 10 years, they played one regular season football game. That's nuts. So, that's not what you want. You play LSU, I think, twice in that time. Is that right? A regular season game, 2009, and then 2013, 2018. Sorry. So we've seen the league cycle through really, and just now that we're kind of settled at 16, I think the biggest thing to me is who's the third game. Georgia, Auburn, Georgia, Florida, those are teams that are traditionally at the top of the table in the SEC. Okay? So it makes a lot of sense that Georgia's third game would be Tennessee, that Georgia's third game would be South Carolina. I think it's going to be like Kentucky. And I think that, I say this a lot of times. People say, oh, well, why don't they play? And I'm like, they can't play everybody. Like, for years, they played South Carolina out of conference, Clemson out of conference, Georgia Tech out of conference. And they played 9 legitimate games with an 11-game schedule. They played 9 legitimate games. Nobody did that. People still don't do that. Okay, so, whereas Auburn, well, Florida's a great example. Florida always had Florida State. But other than that, they'd never leave the state hardly to play away games. It just didn't happen. So for the Dogs, here they are now, a marquee team in the country. This is also going to cut down on these. I think it's going to cut down on some of these, home away games, like with Clemson, with Louisville, Georgia in 26 and 7. That's just not happening. That game, they were going to play out Louisville. That's out. That game didn't make a lot of sense to me anyway, but they were supposed to play UCLA. We're supposed to be getting ready to go to Los Angeles in a few days. So that didn't happen. So I think it's a curious thing right now. Who is the third team? Because, think about it if you're Auburn. There's a lot of people Auburn could be playing for their team, their third team. They could be playing LSU. Because they're going to have Auburn's going to have Bama and Georgia. They could play LSU. They could play the Gators, who they played forever. But Florida can't play everybody. Florida can't play Georgia. Then they play Tennessee. Then they play LSU. They can't play everybody. And then again, too, somebody like South Carolina. South Carolina's got to play somebody. Like South Carolina, they don't enter like as long as they've been in the league, coming on 30 years, they don't have a league rival. They just don't. It's not Missouri. So this is the part, like, it's very exciting, I think, for a lot of people. The other thing that should not be left out about this is this is happening. The schools are going to get paid more. They just are. It is what it is. You're giving the SEC a significant percentage more of inventory. You should start expecting, SEC games week 1 or even week 0. Like, let's say Georgia plays Mississippi State. You better get ready to play in Starkville in like the week before Labor Day, or Disney's not paying all this money out, so like the schedule's backloaded, and the week before the rivalry week is Georgia UMass. Like, they're wanting to space all this out. Georgia's been a good partner on that. Okay, Texas A&M the week before, in week 12 or 13, whatever it is, the week before the rivalry week, they played them in 19. They played, I can't remember who it was. They played Kentucky one of those years. Like, they've been they swapped the Auburn game. Like, Georgia's been a very good partner through the years. But there's going to have to be some sacrifice here from the schools. Schools are going to have to get used to playing bigger games earlier in the year. Shouldn't really matter at the end of the day, because the schools themselves, you're getting paid. You're getting a loss, but you're getting paid. Make sure you're picking up our shirt that's exclusive from Red Zone, our buddies at Red Zone. We don't know who the third is going to be right now. I think people always say, "Oh, I want to play Tennessee." I just don't. That sounds great, but I don't know that that's going to be what happens. I think that's, for Tennessee, that might be okay. But, I mean, Tennessee's got rivalries with Kentucky, with Vanderbilt, with the Gators, with Alabama. They're going to add Georgia. Now, TV may dictate. They may say, hey, we love that Tennessee-Georgia game. Well, I don't care. They're going to say, I don't care. We want Tennessee-Georgia. And the league is going to have to come back and say, look, this has got to make some sense for us in our league, in our schools. Texas can't play Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Arkansas, LSU, Alabama. I mean, like, it can't go on forever. So that you are a marquee team, that you are Alabama, like, Alabama's going to get jammed in this. I tell you that right now. They're going to get Tennessee. They're going to get Auburn. Like, is the LSU-Alabama game going away? Like, is it? We know that game going to go away. That would be astonishing, as the most watched or second most watched game in college football in the regular season in the last 15 years, 20 years. That would go away. I think it very well could or will. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility at all. So at the end of the day, this is a move that, we saw this coming. This was on the way, but now it's here. And, at least we know now that in 26, there's not going to be any reason to get ready to go to play at Louisville. That's not happening. I do think, we're going to see like Georgia, Oklahoma. I think my understanding is that has to happen in 26. So, but it may be that the rules all, changed because now they're going to 9 and all this stuff. But like, if you see, like, I mean, you're going to have to play LSU at some point. You're going to have to go over there. You're going to or they got to come to you. Well, I guess in this scenario they'd come to you. But there are no rules anymore. Like, we are in the new frontier. I was in Denver not that long ago. That's where we're at. We're in the new frontier here, where there are no rules like there used to be. There's no, you're going to play at Missouri every 4 years, unfortunately. You're going to play at Arkansas every 4 years, unfortunately. Like, I don't want to do that. I have no interest in going to Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, College Station, Starkville. There's a lot of places I'm just like, I'm good. Or Dave Chappelle say once, no, I'm cool. Like, I don't want to go out there. You really don't want to either, if you're being honest. I mean, you've been to Austin. And I think Norman is nicer than Stillwater. I think that's pretty established. But, like, do you really need to go see it to confirm that? I don't. So you're going to see a lot of other teams come to Athens, which is worth going to. But at least you don't lose the Auburn game. Because I don't know that it was, like, really in jeopardy, but that could have happened. That could have happened. If they went 8-1 with the rotation, that would have killed off a lot of really, really, really awesome games. Bama, Tennessee, LSU, Florida, Georgia, Auburn. Those games that all got axed. And we're going to see what happens here at the end. I think that, like, for Texas, they're going to get A&M and Oklahoma. They may well get Arkansas too. But some of this has got to make sense. Like South Carolina winding up with Mississippi State, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt, that may happen. And that may be what it is. It may be that Carolina gets Florida, and Florida gets to drop LSU, but they keep Tennessee and they keep Georgia. I don't know. I don't know. If we were doing this right, which we're not going to, this would make sense, and you would go to the traditionals. My suspicion right now is that Georgia will get Kentucky. That's my suspicion. I think, though, that it could be South Carolina, it could be Kentucky, it could be Vanderbilt. History would dictate that you would play Ole Miss, Kentucky, or Vanderbilt. But that, and then again, like Ole Miss, who do they get? They get State, we know that. And they will almost certainly get LSU. After that, who does Ole Miss get? Vanderbilt, because that's a traditional one for them. Alabama, Arkansas. Like, Arkansas's got to play somebody. They're going to get Missouri. I'm certain they won't Texas, but like they're probably going to get stuck with Oklahoma and Missouri and like somebody else that's trash. So I don't really know. This is all, it's breaking news for a reason. But I think if my halfway educated opinion is that Georgia, like, you're probably looking at Kentucky. You are looking at Kentucky, South Carolina, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, and there's an outside shot of the Rebels, but I don't buy that. But it's all of those that, like, those are the ones that make sense. And I think this does have to make some sense, considering all of the travel with the other stuff. They're going to want to get these pods kind of halfway right. That's why I think we will not see. We'll see about LSU, Florida. I think that's the one that might fall away. But, like, I think Auburn, Georgia, Bama, and Tennessee are all going to raise their hand and be like, what? No. You're not getting rid of your secondary if we are not getting rid of ours. We'll just have to see. Thanks for watching.